subject of crime and Gavin Newsom. In San Jose, on Friday, there is surveillance video that we can show you of this car ramming into a jewelry store. Nearly 20 masked suspects swarm the store and ransack it. So you see for the listening audience, you see this car ram right through the glass front of the store, and here come the people. I mean, it's like a gang. Most are dressed in dark colors. They have masks on. See an elderly man behind the counter trying to defend himself. He has absolutely no chance. They shove him to the ground. I mean, this is an 88-year-old. We later find out it's an 88-year-old. It's called San Jose. It's his San Jose jewelry store. And this is 2 p.m. in the middle of the day. So the man had a stroke as a result of all this. He was terrified.
Buckle up, guys. Today we're diving into a chilling real-life story that exposes the breakdown of law and order in plain sight. In San Jose, a car barrels through a jewelry store's front glass in broad daylight. Within seconds, nearly 20 masked criminals storm the premises like a planned invasion. Behind the counter, an 88-year-old man stands frozen. He tries to fight back and pays the price. This isn't a movie. It's America in 2025. And what unfolds next will leave you speechless.
He was physically injured. And you've got the San Jose Democratic mayor coming out to say this is appalling. Watching the senior get assaulted made my blood boil. These people need to face the harshest possible consequences for their actions. And what did Gavin Newsom say? Nothing. We've seen him say absolutely nothing about it, Andrew. He did write on X on Saturday, the President of the United States is deploying the military into U.S. streets and using our troops like political pawns. Do not allow yourself to become numb to this. And that was the day he was tweeting about me, too. I'd love if he would tweet about the constituents in his own state and do something to try to protect them, as our elderly and still part of the greatest generation is getting knocked to their, off their feet, cause strokes, losing their life savings and their life's work in the form of this jewelry store. Like, when you have 20 criminals masked bursting into your jewelry stores in the middle of the day, you have a crime problem, Gavin. You should be thrilled to receive President Trump's offer of help. But instead, he's more worried about his political career.
This is, first of all, obviously the jewelers should be prosecuted.
The aftermath is heartbreaking. That elderly man, he suffered a stroke from the trauma. He was physically assaulted, humiliated, and left devastated. And yet, the silence from leadership was louder than the crime. San Jose's Democratic mayor called it appalling. His words fiery and furious. But Governor Gavin Newsom, not a word, while his constituents suffer. He tweets about politics in D.C., ignoring the blood spilled in his own backyard. Priorities? Clear as day.
Putting a store where those people were trying to drive, I think that would be California law. A perfect example of California law. But, this is another way that the left manipulates the culture in the most minute possible way. It's by changing the language so that it doesn't represent the truth. They use terms like racial profiling. Racial profiling should be called police work. One of the things that police have, which is what makes them so useful to us, is they have experience. They can look at a situation and say, that guy over there is suspicious. They may get it wrong, but they have to have the right to go over and question that guy. I mean, this is how Giuliani and his police commissioners cleaned up the streets. And the New York Times went on an absolute rampage against what they called stop and frisk, which was stopping a guy who they thought had a...
Here's where anger meets dark sarcasm. One commentator jokes that under California law, the jeweler should be prosecuted for putting a store where the robbers wanted to drive. It's ridiculous on the surface, but it underscores a terrifying truth. The justice system feels upside down. Victims are blamed and criminals are shielded. The absurdity isn't just funny. It's a cry for sanity in a state where crime is normalized and consequences are optional.
Gun, because they said it wasn't fair to black people. I thought it wasn't fair to black people illegally carrying guns. But, you talk to cops, and cops know when a guy is carrying a gun. They can tell by the way his clothes hang. They can tell by the way he walks. They can tell by all kinds of things, including what the guy looks like, which would include the color of his skin at times. This is the thing. If you had an app on your phone could read criminal intent, if I could hold it up and it would show criminal intent, do you think the cop would be looking at the person? Do you think he'd be looking at the color of his skin? No, he'd be looking at the app. He's just trying to keep people safe, and he does that by using his experience, by using the fantastic app that is the human mind, and seeing where the crime is. By crippling the police and then going on to cripple the public by saying you cannot see what is happening in front of your eyes. You are handing over our city to these criminals. And I have to say about Trump, I agree with you that Trump should not just go randomly sending the army into cities that, I believe very strongly in federalism. I believe very strongly in local government. However, he's a clever politician. And by sending ICE in there and having...
This segment pulls back the curtain on how language is used as a weapon. Terms like racial profiling are pushed into the mainstream not to protect rights, but to dismantle effective police work. When officers are stripped of their judgment and instincts, society pays the price. We're watching a culture that labels street-level experience as bias and common sense as hate. It's not just about words. It's about weakening the line between order and anarchy.
The cities start to interfere with federal agents. He then acquires the right to send in the National Guard. On top of which, by having the leftist mayors of these high crime cities say, no, we don't want soldiers coming in and cleaning up our streets like they did in the federal city of Washington, D.C., he's just showing you who the left is. The left is for the criminal over the victim. They are. That is just a fact. They support the criminal over the victim. They talk about due process. They don't give a rat's about due process. If they did, they wouldn't have prosecuted Donald Trump for all the things they prosecuted him for. They do not care about due process. They think the criminal has a point. They think he's making a statement. And when they talk about root causes of crime, and there is only one root cause of crime, which is the human heart. But when they talk about root causes of crime, what they're doing is they're convicting the society, and they're saying that the society is to blame for the criminals who are beleaguering it and hurting it.
Policing at its core is about reading danger, not skin color. This part drives that home. Officers rely on years of learned intuition, noticing subtle cues, a gait, a bulge in clothing, a glance. That's not racism, it's experience. Imagine if they had an app to detect criminal intent. They'd use it, but they don't. They use their minds. And now, we're telling them to look away, to ignore reality, all in the name of progress. But who really benefits?
So every single person who gets attacked and arrested is basically an example of the society where every criminal who does the crime is an example of the victim of society. So no society is perfect. The fact that we have to say that means there are too many children walking around masquerading as adults. Of course, no society is perfect. But a society that stands up for victims is better than a society that stands up for criminals. I'm in favor, obviously, of paying attention to due process. But that's not a suicide pact. That doesn't mean we let people run rampage, beat up old people, and rob their stores. Criminals should be punished as if they were criminals, because they are.
Let me get to this, because this ties it all together, both the immigration love on the left and the dishonest media and crime. Kristi Noem went...
Here's where politics and crime collide. Trump is accused of overstepping by deploying federal agents. But as explained here, he played the system legally. First, he sends an IC. When cities interfere, it triggers federal authority to escalate. It's clever, it's lawful, and it reveals the trap local governments walked into. Meanwhile, cities burn and leaders reject help. Not because it's wrong, but because it doesn't fit their politics. The victims? Just collateral damage.
On Face the Nation over the weekend to talk about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who the left absolutely loves. This is the so-called Maryland dad, who's allegedly been beating his wife, according to her, and is accused of trafficking a bunch of illegals. Kristi Noem's got a laundry list of crimes this guy has allegedly committed, and we just want to deport him. I mean, we'll prosecute him and put him in our jail eventually if he doesn't want to go, but he's going to go one way or the other. He's already been deported. They already deported him years ago, saying, get out. The only place you can't send him to is El Salvador. That's his only leg to stand on, because originally we sent him to El Salvador. Anyway, she goes on CBS Face the Nation, and here is what aired, SOT 20.
If he broke the law in this country, as the administration alleges, shouldn't he be held here and face charges here instead of being deported?
Well, prosecution decisions are always made by the Department of Justice, and
This commentary hits hard. It argues that we flipped the moral compass, now protecting criminals while ignoring victims. The left defends due process when it suits them, but abandons it for political enemies. Root causes? They say crime comes from poverty or society's failure. But here it's laid bare. The only root cause of crime is the human heart. When we excuse evil in the name of empathy, justice dies, and innocent people pay the price.
Bondi's department, so we will let them do that. Although this individual does have criminal charges pending, he has charges pending against him civilly as well. And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America.
Okay, here's what she actually said. Listen to this.
This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors. And even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
So that's CBS News whitewashing the allegations about a criminal defendant from the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. The same organization, well, the media in general.
The focus shifts to another case, Killer Abrego Garcia, a man with a disturbing rap sheet. Human trafficking, domestic violence, solicitation of minors. But when CBS aired the story, those details vanished. Viewers were left thinking he was just a misunderstood immigrant. Kristi Noem revealed the full truth in her original comments, but the network filtered them out. This isn't journalism. It's narrative control, and it's putting the public at risk.
That wants you to believe the pillars of our society are being deported, guys with 3 DWIs under their belt. Andrew, it's shameful, and it's truly actively, dangerously misleading. People, they didn't hear her. People reading CNN think pillar, and they don't know about the 3 DWIs, et cetera, necessarily. So your thoughts on the CBS machination?
Well, I mean, the most amazing part of that is that human traffickers, he was too mean and ugly and sinful for human traffickers. I mean, I thought that was kind of stood out for me. When you're being criticized morally by human traffickers, you may in fact be a bad guy. And right, they can't put that in because that shows who they're supporting, and it shows the underlying fallacy. I mean, look, these guys never say a nice word about any Republican, about Donald Trump, about anybody on the right side, but they got plenty of nice things to say about human traffickers.
Right. And we're sick of it. When inflation jumps, when you hear the national debt is over $37 trillion.
It's hard to shock anyone these days, but this part does. Even other human traffickers told Garcia to stop his behavior. Let that sink in. He was too vile for other criminals. And yet, the media didn't report that. Why? Because it destroys their carefully crafted image of who the bad guys are. This is beyond bias. It's manipulation, and it blinds the public to who the real threats are. That kind of cover-up isn't just unethical, it's dangerous.
Do you ever think, maybe now would be a good time to buy some gold? Well, you'd be right. Whether as a hedge against inflation, peace of mind during global instability, or just for sensible diversification, Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold. And so they created something special. Until September 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit right now. Text MK to 989898. Plus, Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals up to 10 grand. So make right now your first time to buy gold and take advantage of a rebate up to $10,000 when you buy before September 30th. Text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility.
The final blow is dripping with bitter irony. Mainstream media never seems to have kind words for law-abiding Americans or conservative leaders. But they're suspiciously silent when it comes to monsters like Garcia. When human traffickers find you morally repulsive, it's not society's fault. It's yours. And when networks ignore that truth, the public suffers. Truth matters. Justice matters. And ignoring evil to protect ideology is the ultimate betrayal. Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.